My wife set the casserole like a centerpiece, wiped her hands on a towel, and told our kids, "Your dad isn't your real father." Forks froze. Steam curled off mashed potatoes. Someone laughed because they didn't know where else to look. She slid a manila envelope toward me. Chinovkastati, stamped in the corner. I tracked the hairline crack in a plate I deglued last year and felt the room tilt by a degree you only notice when a picture frame 1T sits straight. Idenargwai opened a loop inside and decided nothing would be the same. I smiled like I agreed while everything inside me shifted. Comment your city, subscribe, and hit the bell. I come from a thermostat and flashlight kind of home keep. People warm, keep the lights on, show up. I manage facilities. At a clinic, which is a polite way of saying I make sure everything works. So no one has to think about what's behind the walls. Predictable systems let you be kind on schedule. That's always been my favorite kind of romance. She walked into my life on a Thursday in a coffee line, making fun of a menu that renamed the same 5 drinks like shuffling a drawer made them new. She had eyes that found the center of a room and hands that punctuated every sentence. I ordered the usual. She teased me for it. Reliability looks boring from the outside, I told her. She laughed, like she'd been waiting to hear that. We built a rhythm that made sense. Sunday farmers market. Wednesday shows, we paused to argue about plot logic. A scarf forgotten in my car that made the whole cabin smell like peonies and pencil shavings. We married without spectacle, Airtweez, side brand of love. Mine said buy a couch that fits through the door. Back then, I still believed effort would earn respect. Kids were a decision, not an accident. Our daughter arrived in late autumn. The air tasted like pennies. I learned bottles and burps, and the kind of patience you measure in steps, walked in a dark hallway. Our son followed, all sunlight and forgiveness in his gaze. I sanded his crib smooth enough to spare anyone's skin. I kept a log of naps and feeds, not for proof, but because data calmed me. Competence is a love language. We both spoke it. We had the small rituals that make a house a life. Pancakes on Sundays, wait for bubbles. Flip without splash. Coffee that smelled like chocolate and regret for not sleeping more. Blanket forts with a candle that smelled like cedar and laundry. Backyard lights in summer. Moths cupped in small hands. Music at a volume you feel more than hear. I didn't realize how much those quiet rituals would cost later. The first shift was a Tuesday. I came home early to a deliberate kind of quiet and heard her on speaker in the bedroom. "It just makes things simpler," she said. "You know how he is. Dated, if he needs a reason to stop arguing when I change plans. This is it. A beat. Then, not now. At the right moment, it's about narrative control. I put that phrase where I keep things I can't unknow. A week later, I found home DNA kits tucked behind the flower. "Client perk," she said, laughing. "We'll find out if we're part Viking." I made a joke about being 100% tired. The kits went by the door, then nowhere. The thread of information seemed more useful than information itself. Small slights multiplied. At school, she introduced me as the logistics guy. Online, potos, ituk bekame. Spontaneous love. Cakes I baked turned into sugar magic with the kids. Captions tagged like an audition for brands. She'd say, "No bedtime," meant sleep with the lights low. Then wink. Money transfers trickled from our joint account with notes like, "Quick fix. Campaign advances," she said. I built spreadsheets and chose trusts because I'm bad at suspicion. Then dinner became a stage. Garlic bread, winter-scented candles in spring. Her brother's birthday. She tapped her glass. Her phone was angled on the mantel like a quiet witness. "Discomfort isn't the enemy," she said. "Silence is." Hand on our daughter's hair. "Your dad is a good man," she added, and the syntax clipped. "But he's not your real father." Laughter scattered like dropped cutlery. She slid the envelope toward me and said, "He insisted on answers." I hadn't. She had. I didn't touch the prop. The ceiling light hummed like it was reconsidering its job. I thought of all the small, ordinary proofs, the split lip I patched, the stroller I repaired, ponytails I learned because she had a meeting. "I'm not opening that at dinner," I said, voice steady like my father's. "This is not a conversation for a table," her brother muttered. "You could have told him before garlic bread." Their laughter finished the sentence I'd been avoiding. I took the kids, drove in a silence filled only by turn signals, and answered the only question that mattered. "Are you mad?" my son whispered. "I'm here," I said. That night, systems replaced pleading. I emailed 3 boring, competent attorneys. I pulled bank statements, exported PDFs, and mirrored them to an external drive. I photographed the envelope and the dusty kits and saved them to a folder named the date. I changed the thermostat login and wrote down serial numbers on anything an insurance form would ask about. Birth certificates and passports went into a fire-safe box, then into my clinic locker. By morning, everything would be exactly where it belonged. I left a pediatrician a message: new pickup rules, ID required. I drafted a clean letter. We will not discuss paternity with or in front of the children. We will communicate through a mediator. Here are exchanges. Here are lines. We keep our voices. I booked a chain of custody DNA test at a clinic with fluorescent lights and signed forms, no cartoon logos. I made oatmeal with cinnamon smiles like every other school day. Ordinary wins when it has to. Her texts rolled in indignation, then performance. You made me look crazy. We should release a joint statement. I replied with the mediator's availability and a time to collect a bag. She posted a coffee boomerang about hard conversations and choosing truth. I closed the app and opened state law on the presumption of paternity. Knowing where the shut-off valve is won't save the pipe, but it will save the floor. At the clinic room hummed. Swabs looked like lollipops without candy. The text-sealed envelopes in front of us. My daughter squeezed my hand. My son went still. We're checking a box, I told him. I sent my wife the case number and receipt. In the meantime, she spun a new version. The kits were a joke. I'd overreacted. Donor narratives, empowerment, buzzwords. Payments in her apps told a different story. Transfers with book and balloon emojis to a name I recognized. A canceled consult only with a specialist. Time-stamped before our son was conceived. I didn't accuse. I archived. Her lawyer sent a letter using big words as a bluff. Mine replied with statute and calm. We signed a temporary agreement, schedules, expenses, a social media clause that read like a ceasefire. For the first time in weeks, I slept. Results arrived without flourish. Parking lot light was blue cold. The words were clean, consistent with paternity, cannot be excluded. No asterisks. I took the papers home and set them on the counter atop her dinner theater envelope. So walked, in saw the numbers, and reached for a line. That's good, she said. We can tell people we made a mistake. I said, we won't tell people anything. We'll correct what needs correction and stop performing. I stuck a post-it on the fridge next to our son. S. Dragon. We do not discuss paternity, with or in front of the children. Reality is loud when you can prove it. I didn't parade the proof. I emailed the school counselor and asked them to skip family tree icebreakers with my kids. I corrected exactly where necessary and left the internet unfed. Her friends split into camps. Complicated is a word for people who don't want to be wrong. Clients drifted because predictability is the product she sells. She pivoted to soft focus wellness. I made waffles and set autopay. Court was dull, except for the part where dullness felt like mercy. The judge asked us to act like adults and signed the paper that made distance official. She kept the house. I took serial numbers and the memories that don't post. We left by separate doors into rain that smelled like wet concrete. I drove home and gave our old crib to a coworker who was about to be a dad. I showed him the trick for tightening the bolts without stripping the threads. Some things you pass on because they worked. Time folded forward. Our mornings at my place got quiet in a good way. We invented small choices: who picks the route to school, who gets the blue ball. On Wednesdays, we took the long way to stomp puddles and leaves. Boundaries did their jab exchanges on the steps. Texts that started and ended with logistics. A shared calendar, color-coded like a map. When she pushed, I let paperwork absorb impact. When she respected the plan, I said thanks and kept moving. The kids adapted with a resilience that breaks and builds your heart at once. Our daughter asked sharp, practical questions and listened for my tone. Our son sorted Legos by color and called it city planning. We made a here and there list for toothbrushes and sweatshirts, and it made us laugh because boring is a luxury you earn. I didn't date until I could tell the truth in one paragraph. Then I did. Slow. The person I met spoke systems and kindness. The kids liked that nothing about it was a performance. That turned out to be enough. As for my ex, consequences arranged themselves. A client left a podcast sputtered at 3 episodes. The applause for martyrdom went from stadium to slow clap. She made mistakes. She apologized in writing. She followed the plan. We thanked and moved on. I stopped trying to correct her weather. I chose my own. One afternoon, I saw her at the grocery store, smelling peaches to see if they were ready. We stood with a cart between us, like a demilitarized zone. "They're good," she said. "They are," I answered, and meant it without needing an asterisk. We talked schedules, and let the moment end where it should. Later, she texted me a drawing our son made 2 houses. 1 tree, 4 stick figures with the same smiles. "He did this at my place," she wrote, as if the address mattered. "He's kind," I replied. Sometimes closure is a normal message you don't make bigger than it is. If you're waiting for a grand moral, I learned to prefer the quiet ones. I still repeat a line when I need it tying a tie before court, pausing at a door she wants to turn into a stage, or the next time a room goes still for the wrong reasons. I smile like I agree while refusing to shift back. I'm not the pastier looking at the deed.